Welcome to the space between two lines. I'm Alex Saunders, and this is a space for real, honest conversations about fertility, pregnancy loss, and the journey to parenthood. Here, we hear the stories of people navigating the highs, the lows, and everything in between. A place to feel seen, understood, and less alone. Because every story matters, and so does yours. Today's guest is Tamara, who joins us to share her experience with secondary infertility. After more than 2 years of trying to grow her family, Tamara underwent surgery to remove a fibroid and is now in the midst of her fourth cycle of IVF. In this episode, she opens up about the emotional toll, the setbacks, and the strength it takes to keep moving forward on this path. Welcome to the podcast, Tamara. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Did you want to start by introducing yourself to our audience? Just telling us what your life looks like at the moment.
Yeah, sure. So my husband and I live in Brisbane, Queensland. We have a 5-year-old boy that we conceived naturally, and we've been trying again for about 2.5 years, and we've been doing IVF for about a year and a half, on and off now. So yeah,
Okay.
that's where we're at.
All right. So I just want to take you back now to the conception of your son. Was obviously you said that was natural. Was that quite easy for you? Did you have any preconceived ideas around conception at that time?
So we got married in 2019, and then of course COVID happened and we were supposed to go overseas and whatever. So then that got cancelled and we decided to start trying, and it took one cycle, one weekend, and pregnant. I was so shocked that it was that quick and that easy. How foolish was that?
And have you always had quite regular cycles?
Yeah, we've had really regular cycles, no issue at all.
Okay. Yeah. And did you have quite a straightforward pregnancy?
Yeah, I did. I had a few little things. I had gestational diabetes and I had some high blood pressure towards the end. But yeah, other than that, everything was fine. The only thing that they found in one of my scans was a small fibroid, which was never mentioned again until I started trying for a second, and then it became an issue.
Do you want to just explain a little bit more about what that is or what that could mean, having a fibroid?
Yeah, sure. So I had no idea what it even was. I guess it's just a small mass that can grow in your uterus outside of your uterus. And sometimes they're not a problem, but then other times they can cause quite a lot of issues, especially when you're trying to conceive.
Yeah. And is that from pregnancy or is that something that you could have had prior?
No, something you can have prior, which I don't
Yep.
even know if I had it prior, to be honest, because I think they saw it quite early on my scan, but then it just was never mentioned to me ever again throughout my whole pregnancy. And they never said to me, watch this, it can grow, because they grow with hormones. So yeah, it was just a thing that was there.
Yeah. Okay. And then I want to take you now to, because obviously a lot of today's focus will be on your secondary fertility journey. At what point did you make the decision that you were ready to grow your family? And then what were your ideas at that point? What were you thinking in terms of conception?
Yeah, sure. So I started thinking about it when Jean was about 2. I just wasn't ready up until that point. And then we were umming and ahhing, and we started trying when he was about 3. It took that long for me to be like, okay, we're ready to start. And because we got pregnant with him so quickly, we just thought, that's just going to happen again so quickly. How old am I now? 39. So I would have been, about 36 at the time. And we started trying. Probably about the 3rd cycle, I got pregnant. The line was so faint on the pregnancy test, and I kept testing and it was still there. So I was like, I'm pregnant. I made a doctor's appointment, and literally, I think the day before I had the doctor's appointment, I got my period, but it actually was a chemical pregnancy. And that is what then has started this whole journey to where we are now.
Okay, yeah. So from starting conception the second time around, were your cycles regular? Were you able to track them to know when you were ovulating month by month?
Yes, but obviously, I didn't really know much about it because I wasn't really I didn't do that with Jean, obviously. Like, I used the Flow app, which can be so inaccurate, but we were just lucky the first time that it was accurate. So yeah, everything was normal. My periods probably had gotten a little bit heavier, but I just put it down to I'd had a baby. It was probably post-baby stuff. Your body changes. So yeah.
And how did you deal with your pregnancy loss, chemical pregnancy? And what were your kind of next steps from there? Did you feel like you needed a break, or were you thinking you wanted to just keep going?
Sure. So it was pretty devastating because I started spotting and then I took a digital and the digital said pregnant. And so I was like so confused because I'd never heard of a chemical pregnancy before. I sort of Googled it and it came up saying that this could be a thing. It was pretty devastating. I still went to the doctor and what have you, and they still took bloods. And then I actually found out I wasn't immune to chickenpox. So they wanted me to get those vaccinations done. And when you're getting those vaccinations, because they're a live vaccination, you're actually not allowed to try to get pregnant. So it was a cycle of 2 vaccinations. So for 2-3 months, we just didn't try. And then after vaccinations, found out I'm still not immune to chickenpox.
Oh, what is that?
Then I was like, well, now we'll start trying, whatever. And we started trying. It wasn't happening. I'm very impatient. So I went to the doctor and was like, still not happening. And then he sent me off for a scan. And that's when he rang and said, oh, you have quite a large fibroid in your uterus. It's like the size of a Rubik's Cube, probably. And I was like, what? Like, and then I remembered, oh, I had that scan really early on when I was pregnant with Jean. And they did mention like this 2-centimeter fibroid that they just never mentioned again on any scan when I was pregnant with Jean. So then he sent me to a gynecologist, and that's when that sort of started.
Yeah. And do you need to get that tested? Like, could that lead to anything quite serious in terms of your health, or is it just one of those things that you kind of need to get removed?
Well, I think they can be cancerous, but I think they're mostly just, is it benign when they're not cancerous? They're
Yeah.
mostly benign, just like growths. And I think, it depends on how bad they are. You can probably just leave them in there. Like, I do know some people that have them, but they don't cause them too many issues. But yeah, if they're quite large and they're causing issues, it's best to get them removed.
Yeah. And did you make the decision to have yours removed?
Yes. So I then went to one gynecologist, a private one, and she suggested we get it removed. But I don't know, I had a bad gut feeling about it all and I wanted to get a second opinion. So this is then when we start IVF and go down this journey a little bit first. And then I got my fibroid removed after I'd already started IVF because I was hopeful and I'd heard of people getting pregnant with a fibroid. Also, I just had never really heard of many stories of people getting pregnant or doing IVF with fibroids. It's just like everything's about endo and like a few other things. So I was actually like researching on TikTok and just trying to find different stories of people that had been pregnant with them, or if they hadn't, what did they do? So then I went and got a second opinion with another doctor, and they actually sent me to like a gynecologist / fertility specialist. And that's when they mentioned IVF to me. And I was just like, I thought I was just coming here to talk about my fibroid, like to get my fibroid removed. IVF was never on my radar. I'd never even thought about it or anything like that.
Do you know what made them mention IVF to you? Because how long had you been trying at that point naturally?
At that point, well, because we'd had breaks when I had to get those vaccinations and stuff, I would say it would have been about a year at that point, with maybe, 2-3 months off. But this private specialist that I went to was hoping to bank some eggs first and then remove the fibroid, because when they remove a fibroid, you can actually get a bit of scar tissue. So that can, affect implantation and things. But yeah, long story short, I wasn't happy really with that specialist. And then someone mentioned to me about Adora, and because they're a low cost as well, I thought I'll go get a second opinion with them. And that started my journey with Adora, and I'm still with Adora now. So yeah, then I started IVF with him.
Okay, so you've had the gynecologist, the second one that you went to, suggested IVF and not remove the fibroid yet. And then
Another thing was that specialist, the private one that I went to, she would only operate if you had private health. And at that time, I did not have any private health. So that was another thing that then I'd have to wait a year for the private health to kick in before she could do the surgery. And I'm just like, it's so much waiting when I've already waited so long. So that's then why I went to Adora as well, mostly.
Yep.
And I also went to my GP and they put me on a waiting list to go public to get the fibroid removed, because I thought if it's going to take 8 months to wait public and I'd be out of pocket to go private, I may as well go public. So that's sort of what happened. That's why I sort of transitioned. I forgot about that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So then you've gone to Adora. Do you want to just talk me through what their initial advice was and then what the next steps were from there?
Yeah. So Adora were great. I see Dr. Ubek. He is just really on the ball. And I liked how quick he was in the appointment. He was just like, we're going to do this. This is what it looks like. We're going to go from there. So he wanted to bank some eggs as well before I had the fibroid removed, because he was also worried about scar tissue. So that was the plan. He was like, as soon as you get your period, day one, let us know and we'll start. And I was thinking, this is great. We're going to get going. So I had 2 cycles with them. The first one, I was literally about to go under anesthetic and they told me, they asked me, did you know you only had 1 follicle, 1 egg? And I'm like, no, I had no idea. Because it's my first time IVF, I had no idea. He said this to me. So then, because when you're looking at IVF and you see videos and stuff and you see people getting like 18 eggs, and I was just like a bit blindsided before going under anesthetic. So then anyway, woke up and I only got 1. And the nurse asked me if I was okay, and I just bawled my eyes out. So then that didn't fertilize. Nothing happened with that. And then I went straight back in for my second round. Second round, I got 2 follicles. And at this point, I was just numb. I was like, what? I just don't, whatever. I don't even know if I can keep doing it.
Yeah, did they not give you that information when you went in for your scans? Like, that is wild to me at first.
The second time, I think they did tell me, but he did say, look, we wanted you to go under still because it's your first time and you have a low egg reserve. So I was like, oh, okay, you just follow what they say. Second time though, after my second collection, he came up to me and said, look, I think this fibroid is taking up too much blood supply. I think your next option is to get a myomectomy and get it removed. And at that time, I was already on the wait list to get it removed. So I was like, okay, be hopeful that you don't have to obviously have a surgery, because I was most likely going to have an open myomectomy, which is essentially a C-section scar, like incision. But like, I'll just do whatever I have to at that point,
Yeah. And how's your mental health at this point? Because even just like a year of trying to conceive naturally is a lot. And then you've been told you need to do IVF when you're probably not expecting that either. So you've got to process that. And then you move to IVF and it's not really working the way that you're hoping for. How are you handling all of this?
Terrible. Like, I started taking sertraline, I think just before I started IVF, because I'm already an anxious person. So
Is that an for anxiety medication? Or
I think anxiety and depression.
Yep.
I think it's like Zoloft. I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, it's meant to help with that. So
Yep.
no, my mental health was terrible. Yeah, really bad. And because it's such a like up and down, like, oh, I might be able to get pregnant with the fibroid, and then you see positive stories of people that have, and then, oh no, you can't. Oh, but we're starting IVF. Oh, it's just like up and down all the time. The hope, you get so much hope, and then you're so let down. That second egg collection, we got 2 eggs, neither of them fertilized. So at this point, I've done 2 egg collections and nothing. So then after that, I went publicly to see a surgeon about getting the fibroid removed, and I had to go on Zoladex, which puts you in a chemical menopause. So I was in that for about 5 months. And the surgeon I had at the hospital was amazing, because he knew I wanted to get pregnant. So he was happy to preserve my fertility and look after my uterus and everything. And he tried to get me in as quick as he could. So I got in quicker with the public system than I would have privately. So then I had my surgery in September last year to get my fibroid removed. And they were hoping to do keyhole, but they always knew it was probably going to be an open surgery because of where my fibroid was located. It was in my uterine wall. But the good news is they were able to get it out without impacting my uterine wall on the inside. So no scarring on the inside of my uterus. And my fertility specialist at Dora was really happy with that as well.
Yeah. So what did your recovery look like after that surgery?
Yeah. So recovery was all right. I was really nervous because I had Jean naturally. I didn't have a C-section, so I wasn't really sure how it was going to go. And I work for myself, so I wasn't sure how much time off I was going to have and what have you. But it actually went way better than I thought. It's a bit hard to walk for like the first sort of week. But by about week 3, I was good. We actually went camping week 3. We already had it booked. So we went away with my son and it was fine. But after you have that surgery, you cannot get pregnant for 6 months.
That would have been really hard.
So this is what
Okay.
I mean. Like the waiting is so awful. I'm on Zoladex for 5 months, so you can't get pregnant. And then can't get pregnant for 6 months. You could do egg collections in that time, but I really wanted my body to sort of heal and feel ready again because it's so much anesthetic as well
Yeah, and
that I've
money.
been under. And yeah,
Yeah.
and money. You got to have money again.
Yeah.
So then I did my first egg collection back from surgery, I think what are we in now? April. I think it was in February that I did my first one.
And did you want to walk us through that?
Yeah. So it wasn't good. I was feeling really hopeful. The fibroids removed. So you think, oh, the problem's fixed. And then my first scan that I went to was through someone else because at Adora, they couldn't really do the scans externally because of the fibroid. There was only like one girl there that would do external scans. So sometimes they would send me to somewhere else. So anyway, I've gone to this external place and they're like, oh, you don't have any follicles. Like, is that your issue? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I guess it is. And so then I had to go back for another scan. Same thing. It was like one follicle that was growing, but only really one. Third scan. It's mature, but it's not. Yeah, that's it. It's the only one. So they cancelled my cycle and I was devastated. They told me I could try naturally, but they didn't tell me like to trigger or anything like that. And it completely messed up my cycle. My period was about 7 days late. So then you think you're pregnant, you're doing pregnancy tests.
Yeah, that would just be a head fuck. Did they change because obviously this is your third cycle now. Did they change your protocol at all? Yeah, okay. So they did. Yeah.
Single time he changed my protocol, every single time. He was just throwing everything at me. And I'm on really high doses of the injections as well. I just must be a person that doesn't respond to the medication.
Yeah. Okay. So your cycle's been cancelled, and what was the, I guess, advice from there for you?
Well, cycle got cancelled and he just said, we'll change protocol, we'll do this and that. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to have a month off. I had like a night away with some friends booked. I just wanted to enjoy it. And because my cycle was so messed up, I just thought, no, I want to have 1 month off to just get back to normal. So then my period was 6 days early. So then I started my cycle 2 for this year. And sort of same thing, only a few follicles. I went to my first scan actually on Good Friday, just gone. And they rang me an hour later and said, oh, you're going to egg collection on Monday. And I'm like, what? Because usually I have 3 scans per cycle. And they said that, yeah, you've got 2 follicles that are big and 2 that are small. And the doctor worry that we'll lose the 2 big ones. So I went in and had my egg collection on the Monday. They were hoping to get 3 follicles, but they only got 2. So I'm thinking, oh, here we go again. It's the same thing again. But anyway, I woke up the next day and both of them had fertilized, and we'd never had any fertilization ever before. So that was amazing. So then I'm feeling hopeful again. And then they said, you can do a fresh transfer if you want. And I was like, wow, I've never gotten to this stage before. This is amazing. So they'd booked me in on the Saturday for the fresh transfer, sent me, all the messages of how to prep, what to do. I made sure my son was being looked after. I didn't tell my mum because I wanted to surprise her because I thought, this is it. We're going to get pregnant. Everything's so much better now. Fibroids gone. And yeah, it'll be great. You start to forward think to, I'll be pregnant. I'll tell my mum on Mother's Day. I'll be due around Christmas, whatever. It is what it is. And then I'd heard stories of people being told, like on the morning of transfer, that they didn't have embryos. And I was just trying to be really positive, not think about it. And on the morning, I think I was booked for 9:15. We're about to leave, 8 a.m. And my phone starts ringing and it's Adora. And they rang me and told me, I'm going to get teary, that we don't have any embryos. Your transfer's cancelled. the rug is just pulled out from under you. I couldn't believe it. All that forward thinking that you do and you're so positive and then it just crashes down. It was such an awful feeling. And because we got pregnant with Jean so easily and everything was sort of fine, I'm just, these constant fails are just like, what the hell is going on? Like, I'm not used to it, I guess. Well, now I am because it's been a while, but it's just, you always think, oh, the worst will probably happen. The best always does, so it's fine. So when the worst actually happened, you're so like shocked and blindsided. It's just, yeah, terrible. I think too, people think that IVF is just, get egg, get sperm, put together, put it in, and you get pregnant. People don't know or don't realize that you actually have to get to an egg collection, which I didn't even realize that they could cancel that. Then you have to get to transfer, and that can be cancelled. Then you have to have a transfer, that has to take. Then you have to not miscarry. It's just
It's wild.
many hurdles to get to the end result. It's not just like that one thing.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's something you don't really fully understand until you're in it. And then someone said to me the other day, the hardest parts of IVF is the waiting. It's not the doing, it's the waiting for a result. It's the waiting to be able to start. It's the waiting if you've got any embryos. And then you've carried all this weight before you've even gone for your transfer. So then even after that, there's a ripple effect. But yeah, I think it's such an important message and so good for people to understand that it's such a complex process and it doesn't just fix everything.
So important to look after mental health in that time. I actually had Adora provide a free counselling service per cycle, and I actually took it up last time, and the lady was just so amazing. And yeah, we were talking about that. It's just so much waiting. And you're also told to you need to be positive. You have to be positive, you have to manifest this, that. But she's like, it's actually such a crisis that you're in. And it's a crisis that got you here. You're allowed to feel sad and you're allowed to not want to be positive all the time. Because I have people in family that are sometimes like, oh, you need to be thankful that you have your son, which obviously I am. That doesn't mean that you can't grieve and be sad. And yeah, you really have to look after your mental health when you're going through this because it's so shit.
It is. And throwaway comments like that frustrate me so much. Like, you should be grateful for the child that you have. Of course you are. Like, this process gives you so much more gratitude for that. And not even realizing that perhaps you do have a little miracle, but it doesn't take away from your grief and the life that you pictured in your head that you're now grieving because it's been taken away from you and you didn't expect it to be taken away from you, right? And that's just something that people can't quite understand either unless they've lived it too. So
really true. Like, I have some amazing friends that are always there for me, but I just feel like if you've never been in any sort of infertility space, like you really don't know. I didn't know. I'm a hairdresser, so I've had clients that have gone through infertility and stuff, and you feel so bad for them and you want to be there for them. But until you're in it yourself, you really have no idea how hard it is. It's just something that you can't really explain to someone else if you've not been through it.
yeah, exactly right.
But anyway, so then that got cancelled. So then I'm thinking in my head, maybe IVF just isn't for me. Maybe my body only produces 1-2 follicles. If my body's going to do that naturally, should I try naturally now my fibroid's gone? So I had a follow up with my specialist that he essentially said that, you've got quite a low chance of getting pregnant naturally because I have such a low follicle count. So anyway, he said, look, we'll try this protocol that we did you on last year. You actually had good follicles that just didn't catch up in time. So this was the cycle I had just before my fibroid was removed. And he said, we'll change your trigger and blah, blah, blah. So I'm actually in that cycle right now. And I went this morning and had my first scan for that. And it actually is, things are looking a little bit better, I think. So yeah.
That's so good. Hopefully things keep moving in the right direction. How are you feeling like right now at this point?
I'm in that hopeful bit. I drove home and I was feeling like so happy from this scan because my right ovary never really produces any follicles. So apparently there's something going on there. And then my left ovary's got 3 or 4 follicles at the moment. And going back to before when I said you don't really feel comfortable asking or whatever, now I am. Now I'm like, oh, how many follicles were there? Can you tell me? And she's sort of like, I can tell you, but I know what it's like. You might have 6 and maybe only 2 are mature. So she said, yeah, you probably got about 3 or 4 on the left and maybe 1 on the right. But the good thing is they're all about the same size. I think my issue's been too, like I had 1 or 2 the dominant and the others don't really catch up. So she said they're all sort of growing at the same rate. So that's good. And this time last cycle was when I had the scan on the Friday and went to egg collection on Monday. So today she was like, you'll probably get another scan, which is sort of good because then gives them more time to grow all at the same pace. But yeah, I'm really in that hope phase at the moment. So we'll see. It's just such an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, it is, certainly is. So how many years has it been now that you've been trying to conceive your second child?
I would say it's been 2.5 years since I had that chemical pregnancy. So it's
Okay.
probably been just over 2.5 years.
Yeah. How has it been going through this process and then also having to show up as a mum?
Oh my gosh, it's so hard because, you have to have the energy to get up and get going. And my little boy started prep the same week that I started my first cycle this year. So it's been really, really hard to just keep on top of things. I've literally just been surviving and he's the priority. As long as he's fed, clothed, okay, having a good time. So I've just put myself on the back burner a little bit. But it's hard and he sees me do my injections. It's hard to hide it from him like now. He doesn't really understand. I try and explain it to him, but he doesn't really understand. But yeah, it's so hard to have to be present as a mum as well because these injections as well just take it out of you. I am just so tired and I have no energy. So yeah, I'm just doing the basics to keep afloat, to be honest.
Yeah. How did your body cope as well prior to your surgery? I should have asked you this before, when you had to go into a menopausal state as well. That would have been challenging, I assume.
Well, not so much for me. This is what,
Mm.
like, you hear all these horror stories about IVF, stims and the Zoladex. Zoladex, I probably was tired. I definitely got some sort of like hot flushes, but that was about it. I didn't really have many bad side effects from Zoladex. And actually, I should say, I think my fibroid was about 10 centimeters when I started. And after Zoladex, when I got it out, it was about 6-ish centimeters. So it did shrink it, my fibroid somewhat, because I guess it starves it of hormones.
I just want to also ask about your relationships moving through this time. Have any external relationships been affected, and how have you navigated, if there has been pregnancy announcements around you and things like that?
Gosh, yeah, okay. So my relationships have been good. I think sometimes you expect people to reach out and they don't really. I think people just don't really know how to talk to you about it. But the biggest thing I would say is just even asking, hey, how are you going is enough. Like you don't have to go on this big emotional spiel. Just to be there is enough. But nothing has changed too much. But oh my gosh, yes. Pregnancy announcements are so triggering to me, especially if it's like someone having their second or third baby. And generally, it's people that already have a child and they're younger than Jane. So I'm like, I'm left behind because these people are now moving on to second, third children. And I still have Gene and now he's 5. And it's hard to when you're a hairdresser because lots of people are getting pregnant. They're around your age. So it is really, really hard. Most of my clients know what I'm going through. So they've been really, really kind and gentle with me when they've like told me. And I don't know, I'm really happy for them. And then they bring their baby into the appointment and it's actually so nice. But yeah, seeing it online, you just notice it so much more, right? Because it's in the forefront of your brain. So you go to shops, see someone pregnant. You're online, someone's pregnant. Like I really had to create boundaries with myself and unfollow people or just mute them so I don't see it. And like you feel like you're being horrible, but you have to create that boundary for yourself. I don't think it's a bad thing to do that, to be honest.
No, not at all. And as you said earlier, throughout this process, you really have to protect your mental health because it is so heavily affected. Even, the most positive person in the world is going to be affected by this. So I think a huge part of this process, especially if it's long, is setting boundaries for yourself. Everyone's boundaries are different, and the people in your life that love you will respect that and will be there on the other side. But yeah, I just think the point you made about mental health is just so important. And it can take a long time to realize that, I think, for people that they need to set boundaries. So, really important message. Is there anything else that you have done throughout this process to help navigate, help with your mental health, just help move through other than the counseling session?
So I started acupuncture at one point, but it was when I had my fibroids still. So I sort of stopped going because I thought, I don't know if this is really going to do anything. It was a nice relaxation, but that's about it. And then I went and saw a naturopath last year, and she was great as well. So she's helped me get onto, supplements and stuff like that, my diet and what have you. But yeah, other than that, just really going to a psychologist. But I loved the counselor that Adora sent me to the other day. So I think I'll continue with her. But yeah, they're sort of the main things that I've done.
Yeah. One thing I did also want to touch on, have you had to navigate any difficult conversations with your son around siblings, or has that part of it been okay?
So I'm probably a bit different to lots of people. Lots of people I've seen their child wants a brother or a sister, and they're like, when are you doing that? Which would be so hard. My son does not want a brother or sister.
That's great for you right now.
Talk about it. And when I've been doing my injections, I sort of just try and explain to him, the injection's helping. I just say the seed grow. How do you explain to a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, but I don't want a baby. He's quite happy being an only child. But that's, I'm sure he would get used to it. And I'm sure he would love a sibling. But it's just the thought of it, probably because it's just been him for 5 years. And he was the only grandchild for a while as well. So, yeah,
for sure.
that's something I haven't had to really navigate.
So next steps for you is you will have another scan and then hopefully going for egg collection next week sometime. Is that the plan with your...
Yeah, so that will be the plan. And hopefully we get a embryo because this has been now my 5th time on injections. It'll be my 4th egg collection and I have no embryos. So I'm really hoping for even just one. Like, I know when people go, oh, you only need one. And now I understand because now I'm just like, can I just have one?
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I had that first cycle and I only got one collected. The nurse said that to me afterwards. And I was just like, oh, shut up. I don't want I don't want to hear that. But now I'm like, oh, I actually understand. Okay.
Yeah.
It does just take one. But yeah, so that is the plan moving forward. And I think, I don't know, if this cycle doesn't really go to plan, I'll probably have a month off. So yeah, we'll see how this egg collection goes. I think if the results are the same, not great, then we probably will have a break next month and just rethink of what to do because I just want one embryo. Yeah, it only takes one and I just want one. And now I fully understand what that means. So we're just going to have to see how this cycle goes. Fingers crossed that this protocol works better for us because, and then I'm going to have to navigate transfer. Like, I know that some people have problems with transfer and miscarriage and stuff. And I don't even know if that's going to be a problem because I haven't got to that stage yet. I'm hoping that my issue is just getting the embryos because I've been pregnant before. So yeah. And I know that when I had that cancelled cycle, they said my lining was good and everything. So I'm hoping that I'm not going to have an issue there. It's just getting that embryo.
Yeah. And do they do ICSI for you guys?
So the first cycle, no. The second cycle they did ICSI and then we didn't have any fertilize. And then this last cycle they did IVF, not ICSI. And I was actually a bit like, I thought we'd do ICSI because that's what we did last time and we've had fertilization problems. And I think just because it had been a year, they hadn't really thought about that or written it. I don't know. Yeah. So no, we actually did IVF last time and that's when 2 of them fertilized.
Okay. Well, that's good. All right. Well, I'm so hopeful for you. We're literally crossing everything and I'll definitely be checking in with you to see how things go. But just finally, do you have any advice for anyone who might be trying to navigate maybe secondary infertility at the moment? They, might have started their conception journey and it's just not happening for them. Do you have any advice that you could give?
Yeah, sure. I think just going back to, the creating boundaries, looking after your mental health. Don't feel bad for creating boundaries when something doesn't feel right. But yeah, just advocating for yourself as well, because I think sometimes you just get lost in fertility specialists are so busy. So you just get lost in their wait list or whatever. So not being scared to sort of ask questions and stuff. But yeah, definitely looking after your mental health and just not feeling bad for feeling like crap. But yeah, that's probably the only advice I have because it's just so hard.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you wanted to chat about today before we wrap it up?
I just remember when I first had that fibroid and there was not much information out there. And that's actually how I found Dr. Ubek, because he has a TikTok and he made TikToks about IVF and fibroids. TikTok is so great. Like, it gets a bad rap, but honestly, for this sort of stuff, there's so much information out there. And I actually found a lot about fibroids on there. So, yeah, I guess I don't really know. I just think it's so hard when you have something that not many people have talked about before and you're just like unsure. Like I said, there's a lot of information about endo and stuff, but not for some other things.
Well, I mean, that's why this conversation is going to be so great, because it's probably something people will search for when they're looking in podcasts, and this will come
Yeah.
up and it'll be very helpful for
Because
them.
I
So,
even know that listening to podcasts, I couldn't really find a podcast on women, infertility and fibroids. So, yeah.
so great that you've come on here today and shared your story. So thank you so much, and thank you
No
for being
worries.
so open and honest. I know that it's going to be super helpful for
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alex.
So thank you.
Thank you.
This has been The Space Between Two Lines. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and register on our website to share your story. The link is in the bio. Until next time.